ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः सुष्ठुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नस्तोषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहनौ भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 मनो हि द्विविधं प्रोक्तं शुद्धं च अशुद्धमेव च
अशुद्धं कामसङ्कल्पं
शुद्धं कामविवर्जितं मन एव मनुष्याणां कारणं बन्धमोक्षयोः
बन्धाय
विषयासक्तं मुक्तं निर्विषयं स्मृतं
यतो
निर्विषयस्यास्य मनसो मुक्तिरिष्यते अतो
निर्विषयं नित्यं
मनः कार्यं मुमुक्षुणा निरस्तं
विषयासङ्गं
सन्निरुद्धं मनोहृदि यदा यात्यात्मनो भावं तदा तत्परमं पदं तावदेव निरोद्धव्यं यावद्धृदि गतं क्षयम् एतज्ज्ञानं च ज्ञानं च शेषो न्यायश्च विस्तरः
नैव चिन्त्यं
न चाचिन्त्यं
न चिन्त्यं
चिन्त्यमेव च पक्षपातविनिर्मुक्तं ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा स्वरेण सन्धयेत् योगम् अस्वरेण भावयेत् परम् अस्वरेणानुभावेन
भावो नाभावयिष्यते.
Yeah, very nice. The chanting is sounding very good. तदेव निष्कलं ब्रह्म
तदेव निष्कलं ब्रह्म
निर्विकल्पं निरञ्जनम्
निर्विकल्पं निरञ्जनम्
तद्ब्रह्माहमिति ज्ञात्वा
तद्ब्रह्माहमिति ज्ञात्वा
ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते ध्रुवम्
ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते ध्रुवम्
निर्विकल्पमनन्तं च
निर्विकल्पमनन्तं च
हेतुदृष्टान्तवर्जितम्
हेतुदृष्टान्तवर्जितम्
अप्रमेयमनादिं च
अप्रमेयमनादिं च
यज्ञात्वा मुच्यते बुधः
यज्ञात्वा मुच्यते बुधः
न निरोधो न चोत्पत्तिः
न निरोधो न चोत्पत्तिः
न बद्धो न च साधकः
न बद्धो न च साधकः
न मुमुक्षुर्न वै मुक्तः
न मुमुक्षुर्न वै मुक्तः
इत्येषा परमार्थता
इत्येषा परमार्थता.
So, tadeva nishkalam brahma. Tad, that. Which that? One, we have to go back to that. You know verse number 8. And what was mentioned over there? That which is left out after, na abhavaha ishyate. What ishyate? Bhavaha eva ishyate. That presence. Bhava means presence. Yeah. Bhava means samsara. Yeah. Bhava, samsara, bhava, existence, presence. That existence is limitless. And when that existence is shortened, like the A becomes A, it becomes samsara. It's shortened into truncated, and all the limitations are, one is identified with all the limitations. So, namaha, that's all we have to say. So, this is something very interesting. So, bhavaha here means existence. Bhavaha ishyate. In fact, we can, like I said yesterday, we can say shishyate. What remains? So, asvarena anubhavena, on the contemplation of the space in between one om and the next om, what remains is home, and that's you. And that you is here, that you, which you, I thought it was this you, yeah, but this you, which was described as bhavaha in that verse, that is Brahma, tadeva Brahma, that is the connection. You see? So first, Brahma sampadyate tada, it was talked about in verse number, very beautiful, the connections are very nice. So in verse number 7, it was what was the last, suddenly the word Brahman was introduced. What was the last one? Brahma sampadyate tada. Yada. Yeah, 6. What was that? When does... Yeah, tada. When? Yada? Pakshapata vinirmuktam. When one is able to let go of one's pet peeves and pet beliefs and pet notions, and this is what Brahman is, that is when Brahman is, Brahman emerges from what? From your own division-torn mind. Emergence means, where was it? It was already there. Poor thing was sat upon by various, ideological, kinds of thoughts and beliefs and notions and pocketbook Vedanta, and people think they just write whatever they want. It's like this what is that weekend Ayurveda course. Ayurveda, it's a huge thing. Even people who have studied all life, they say that they don't know, they are just learning. And here, somebody, they go one weekend, they learn how to heat up the oil and put it on, and just sort of say Vata, Pitta, Kapha. You can just say a few things. You are Vata type. Yeah, you can do that. In some questionnaire also they'll give. Vata questionnaire, Pitta questionnaire, all rubbish. And it's like the questionnaire is not rubbish, but the thing is, this weekend, fly-by-night operation, where you get some, and these things are not even certified in this country, and then you can hang one shingle, and say that now I am a qualified practitioner. And same thing, you can become Reiki Grandmaster, Pitamaha, in one weekend. And then there is one Vision Quest weekend, you can become a shaman. Yeah. And this is what the Native Americans, they have been, apprenticing all their life, and still they are little shy to call themselves shamans. And here the people are just, this kind of a thing. And the same thing exists in Vedanta. It's a fly-by-night operation, pocketbook. There is no understanding of how this is to be. How this knowledge is not a belief. It's not one more thing that you have some ideas about. It's a relentless commitment and a dedication to divest from all the things that I have been clutching at, starting with the straws in my own life. It's a relentless commitment. It's a commitment that is nirantara, without any gap. You have to be able to see what it is trying to show, because it's a means of knowledge. It's not a belief. It's not an ideology. It's not something. It is you. And that you is hidden under all this pakshapata. Pakshapata means all kinds of dualities. It's this or that, all kinds of categories. We've seen this at length. And so those categories, they have to dissolve, and for that one has to have Shraddha. One has to, approach the study with reverence, and one has to revere, the scriptures, the Upanishads. One has to really worship the Upanishads before it will yield some results. Because if I don't have that outlook of Shraddha, which is reverence pending understanding, it will not bless. Oh, so Upanishad is all high and mighty and it wants me to fall at its feet before it will bless. It's not about high and mighty. It's neither high nor mighty. It's you. It's something you don't know your own nature because you get in your own way. And so therefore, this, what we call Brahman, which is your own limitless nature, and that nature is a siddha vastu. It is not something to be gained, it already is. And that is there, you know it. But sometimes that is gets overtaken by is not. So the Upanishad is not giving any new knowledge. It's sifting through this maze in this jungle of is not that has been enshrined as is. That's what it is. That's the whole thing. It's like that kingdom of fools, and they looked at each other, who will be our king? Each one said, I am stupid, I can't be the king. I am stupid, I can't be the king. Each one understood that they were really not fit to be the king. So then they made a decision that the first jiva, not person, that crosses, because they were having a discussion, that crosses the next person to cross this, or the next jiva to cross this, will become the king. It happened to be a street dog, correct? And so they gave a dog a nice bath, flea dip, and then what? They put one tilak on it, and then they did one arati to it, and measured its head for the crown fitting, and put it on the throne, put it on the throne. And then what? And then they were saying, oh, you are a king, you are our king, woof woof. It was also having a good time. No, everybody is adoring me, and it's so nice. And then what? It was sitting on the throne, it saw the garbage man go by, and immediately it got down from the throne, went along with the garbage man to go inside each garbage can and compete with him for the leftovers. This is what it did. So that is how it is, So the is not is enshrined through, on the pedestal. The is not becomes enshrined on the throne, on the pedestal, in the mind, and the is, what happens to the is? When is not becomes satyam, is becomes mithya. And so this whole knowledge is it's very beautiful. It's like removing what doesn't belong. It's a systematic shedding. Like in the fall, the leaves all don't shed, the leaves don't shed one by one. First they turn color. And likewise, all the notions first turn color. Oh, they are turning, that means they are not real. Oh, interesting. And then one by one they drop. Of course, at the end they all drop. When the study is heightened, they all drop. And then, that's how it is. So all these notions are dropping in the next few verses. And so here, that Brahma, Tadeva Brahma, forget Nishkalam for now, that alone is Brahma, which after all this dropping, which you realize and understand as the truth of your, that this was all me, it was already me, that which you understand. But for that to happen, you have to do two things. One has to be prepared, in other words, one has to allow this dropping to take place. And second, be open to what it really is. What is it? Nishkalam. This is a very, these words we have encountered hundreds of times. Nishkalam, kala means aspects, parts. Like Chandra Kala, the moon has aspects, 14 aspects, and then full moon, and then 14 aspects, and then new moon. Actually, new moon is no moon, yeah. And so, Kala, one day it's a little bigger, then bigger. First it's in the shape of a croissant, and then it is little bigger, then Ardha Chandra, half moon, 3/4 moon, full moon. These are all Kalas. And then even the human being has various Kalas, Kalas means, parts. So many parts, mind, body, senses, organs of action, digestive organs, this prana, all these are Kalas. But what about Brahman? No, the Kalas do not belong to Brahman. Nishkalam. But at the same time, that existence, that all knowledge, limitless existence, sustains whatever Kalas there are there without being any of them. Impartite, Kala means partless. Okay? Tadeva Brahma, and this description of Brahman is given very beautifully here. Nishkalam, without parts. So this means what? It's always in the negative. Always in the negative, because the fact that I think that everything has to be understood part by part has to be dropped. So Nishkalam. So you can't have what is that? Undergraduate Brahman, graduate level Brahman, postgraduate Brahman, doctorate and postdoc Brahman. You don't have all such things. It is all or nothing. That's really what it is. It's all or nothing. And nothing means what? Nothing becomes the thing. That's what it means. And so, Nishkalam, Tadeva Nishkalam Brahma. Nishkalam. And then what? Nirvikalpam, another negative, Nirvikalpam is nothing but what we already studied. Pakshapata Vinirmuktam. Choiceless, without any choices. Without any options. Is Brahman red or blue? Is Brahman fat or thin? Is Brahman tall or short? Is Brahman yellow or green? Which color is Brahman? Does Brahman wear glasses or contacts? All these vikalpas are not there. Vikalpas means choices. Choices means comparison. Comparison means there should be at least two things to be able to compare. So Nirvikalpa, incomparable, you can't compare it to anything. Without any second. Without a second. Kalp, to imagine, V plus kalp means, choices or duality. Nirvikalpa, negating that duality. Nirgataha vikalpaha yasmat nirvikalpaha. And here, it is neuter, nirgatam vikalpam, yasmat, from which all duality, all choices, all, this or that, and this pakshapata has departed. So Nishkalam, partless itself. So Swagata Bheda is negated. Swagata Bheda means the fact that it may have limbs, it may have parts, that is negated. Because see, duality has to be negated completely. Nirvikalpa means any kind of a contest from outside threatening that, non-duality is negated. Vigata Bheda, negated. Svagata Bheda, negated. Correct? So it is impartite in itself and it doesn't have any other person threatening it. Any other individual, any other consciousness, any other, what's that? Any other thought, belief, nothing. It can displace it. Correct? And so then what? Nirvikalpam, Niranjanam. Very important. Anjana means a stain. Stain, Anjana. Niranjana means no stain. What is this stain? Is Brahman a laundry soap or what? Free of stains. Stain here means guilt and hurt. Kartritva, bhaktritva, and all the other emotions that one is not proud of. Such as what? Kama, Krodha, and then what? Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, anger, desire, anger, greed, avarice, greed, pride, and delusion, and then jealousy. These are all things, even on the relative level, that one is not happy with. And then when one, gets into any of these emotions, there is shame. There is a feeling of shame. Why did I do that? Why did I beat this one up? Why did I scream? Why did I shout? Why did I take away, this thing that belonged to somebody else? So this guilt is in the form of, constant regret, anjana. Regret is nothing but constantly reveling, you can't say reveling, constantly being chastised by my own commissions and omissions. Why didn't I do this? Why did I do that? What about Brahman? Free of that guilt. Abba, thank God. And that Brahman is you. So you are free of that guilt. You are free of the relentless barrage of omissions and commissions in the form of regret. And then what else is there? If I'm not worried about my own omissions and commissions, there is plenty of time to worry about other people's omissions and commissions towards me. Half the time, why did I do this? Why didn't I do that? And the other half the time, why did they do this? And why did they not do that? What a life. This is Pakshapata. What a life. What a miserable life. Half the time I can't forgive myself. And the other half the time, just to keep a little variation, the other half the time I can't forgive others. What a life. How to live like that? If this is not bondage, I don't know what else is. Yeah, one has bound oneself and thrown away the key also. And the Upanishad comes and one is all bound up and locked everywhere. And then what? And you say, I don't have time. Of course you don't have time. Because half the time you are worried about your own omissions and commissions. And the other half the time, what other people did. Where is the time for poor Upanishad that is saying, Niranjanam Tvam, Niranjanaha Tvam, Niranjanam Brahma Tvamasi. There is no time at all. Oh, no time. And then sometimes people have this very strange logic, which is really not a logic. And people say, yeah, Brahman may be Niranjanam, but you have to pay the bills. What is that? I don't understand. But we have to pay the bills. Pay the bills. Who's asking you not to pay the bills? What does that have to do with Brahman being Niranjana? No, but natural, it's human. This is another thing they'll bring, Enlightenment is all fine, but you're human. Yeah. The whole time the teacher is breaking the head, saying relentlessly and systematically, the teachers all over the place are breaking the head saying you are not human, you are Bhagavan. So the whole time is spent in repatriating this sorry fellow into understanding the limitless truth of oneself. And then soon after the class, this fellow goes back, just like the dog that ran behind the garbage, collector. Just like that, one goes back to collect that garbage that was thrown away. This is the problem. That garbage which was already thrown, and the fellow himself threw it away, himself, herself, and that attraction for that hasn't gone. Oh, I think I made a mistake. This is what the whole thing is. And so, here Niranjana has to be really understood, free of guilt and hurt, free of all kinds of things that one is ashamed of. And after the class, you cannot say, yeah, that's okay, that's just an abstraction. After all, I am human and I will feel regret. That is just undoing the work of everyone from, Lord Vyasa till now. Why Vyasa? Start with Lord Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti, instead of doing chin mudra, will cover his face. Yeah, at this rate. That's what will happen. Dakshinamurti will say, please hide me somewhere. Because I can't stand this. This is what the whole thing is. This is a revision. To own up the knowledge, to not just make an excuse and say, yes, Brahman is free of guilt and hurt, but after all, I am human. Don't come to class anymore if you're thinking that. Yeah. Oh, how can you be so extreme? Try me. That's all I'll say. Because don't come to class means I'm not asking you not to come. But what I'm saying is, if this is the condition, if this is the way in which the knowledge is being internalized, then the classes are not being of any use. The class is not just to have a good time, so as to be able to go and wallow in the guilt and the hurt afterwards. That's not the point. The point is to have that inner transformation and to dare to say that, look, there are a lot of things for which I feel shame, I feel fear, I feel regret. But here I am being told that I, Brahman, I am free of regret and guilt. The only question to ask is how? How? Please show me how. Then I'll say, okay, keep coming to class. Then that will also be revealed how. You can't say, oh, that doesn't apply to me. That's a negation. And that negation is a repudiation of the message of the Upanishad. And no wonder it doesn't bless. Because there are silent ways in which I'm not owning up to the truth of myself. And the guilt and regret are a very important deterrent to this assimilation. And so therefore, these are all contemplative verses. Nirvikalpam, partless, that I can understand. It's very easy to understand because it doesn't hit home. Niranjanam, Nirvikalpa also I can understand. Free of Vikalpa, okay, fine, okay, I have Vikalpa, I feel I have Vikalpa, but actually I'm Nirvikalpa, alright. But Niranjana, it hits home, because that garbage, that trash of guilt and hurt, I'm not willing to give up. I'm nursing the guilt and hurts in the nursery of the heart. Yeah, I'm watering it, putting Miracle Grow on it, and putting some, what is that? Even when there is no sunlight, they put some kind of
glow lamp.
Some kind of glow lamp. Yeah, instead of shining the Upanishads on that miserable heart, I am putting some kind of other lamp. It's giving the wrong message. And then I complain, oh, it has become a jungle. It has become a jungle. And I don't know how to do this. It's like that, it's like the foreign policy of all these big countries. First they go into these small countries and nurse the dictators. And this is what we have also done in the past. We go to all the countries and nurse the dictators. And you give them, subsidies, and you in private you pat them on the back. give them protein powder and, and nurse them, and then afterwards what? Complain that they have become dictatorial. This is exactly what one does within. As within, so without. They're very consistent. Same thing. So I can't complain that guilt and hurt has overtaken me when I have been the agent of nursing them life after life after life. Stop giving it the feeding bottle. Snatch. Take it out. How? And it was already given how. Tapadeva nirodhavyam. Yavat hridi gatam kshayam manaha. It's all connected. Until then, when see, there is some kind of a witnessing. So that's why the meditation becomes very important. I become a witness of my own mind, and then what happens is that there is that downward spiral happening. I notice it. Sometimes one goes, oh, something is happening, oops, here I go. And before one goes all the way, one can stop. Just say stop. No, but I can't stop. Do something else. Change the channel. It's like that lady who said, I can't meditate because the TV is on in the house all the time. Someone came and really said that. Please give me an upaya, a remedy. I said, switch off the TV. Oh, I never thought about it. She had not even thought about it. Because big household, lot of people, and the TV was always on, some news channel, CNN or something. It was always on in the low volume, but it was always on. Nobody even thought that it's as simple as turning it off. So the inner channel has to be switched off. Do something else. Take a walk. Listen to some bhajans or some music other than heavy metal. And read something. Go talk to somebody. And when you change the channel, it is disrupted enough. And when you disrupt it constantly, it stops being nursed. And it stops being a carnivorous plant that you have nursed. When you go to give it water, it swallows your hand. Yeah, some plants are like that. There is one Venus flytrap. Very interesting. So, don't make it your own enemy. That is how this Upanishad begins. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhaya vishaya shaktam. And then what? And then muktam nirvishayam smritam. So that asakti, there is a very kind of a morbid longing to nurse to nurse the guilt and the hurt. Because it's a rehearsing of the hurts from the past. It's a rehearsing of the pattern relentlessly, and that is not reversing it. One thinks that by wallowing in it, I'm reversing it. You are not. You're just merely rehearsing it. It's taking a foothold and it is becoming bigger than the Upanishad's message. Don't let that happen. Nirvikalpam, niranjanam. And so when those things happen, you tell yourself, I am free of what? Of guilt and hurt. Change the channel. Give it the message of the Upanishads. Tad Brahma ahamiti jnatva. This Brahman is not an abstraction. Which Brahman? That which was described just a moment ago as Nirvikalpam, Niranjanam, and then Nishkalam. That Brahman, this Aham, this sorry little Aham that I thought I was, Aham Asmi, Tad Brahma Aham Asmi iti jnatva. Not, feltva, not experiencedva. No. This is not something, some kind of a special experience. I told you that something dripping in the back. I was scared. I thought some, cerebrospinal fluid leaking. That's what happens. And all these, Brahman as a special experience, that also has to be let go of. It's not a special experience. It is the truth of all experiences. It is the truth and the content of the experiencer. Tad Brahma, That Brahman which was an abstraction, even while the words Nirvikalpa, Nirvishesha, Niranjana, and then what else? Nishkala were being elucidated and unfolded, it was still an abstraction. Now the time has come to bring it home. Nirvikalpam, Nishkalam and Niranjanam Tad Brahma Ahamiti Jnatva. Jnatva means knowing, not experiencing, not feeling. This is a cognitive shift. I don't know how from these kinds of Upanishads, even the scholars have got various other things. I just don't know how it is possible. Tad Brahma Ahamiti Jnatva, knowing without a shadow of doubt that this is myself, being ready, being daring enough to set foot into this knowledge and allowing it to transform me. That is the message of this here. Allowing myself to be transformed by this means of knowledge, by this pair of glasses which helps me see what I was completely blind to previously, what I was unaware of. Tad Brahma Ahamiti Jnatva, having known this, then what happens? Brahma Sampadyate Dhruvam. Dhruvam means certainly. Sampadyate means gains. Is gained. Causal. Is gained. Not causal, passive. Is gained. How is it gained? What is gained? Brahman is gained. And again I have told you what kind of a gain is it? As though gain. No, we would here it's better as though, definitely. As though, the word as though is not incorrect answer. But here I would make it a little more strong and say Brahman is gained. What kind of a gain? The gain of that which has already been gained. Yeah. That clinches it. The gain of that. See, there are two things to gain, correct? One kind of a gain, two kinds of gains. One kind of a gain is the gain of something away from you, something other than you, something apart, for which some, hands and legs have to move, karmendriyas have to move. And so that is one kind of a gain. It was not present and it was present elsewhere. Tad Brahma, for example, that feeling, that has to be brought here. So here, atra and there, tatra. Between atra, here, and tatra, there, atra, tatra, what is the distance? How is the distance measured? Through space, correct? And sometimes the gain is in time. When can I collect social security? Not now, so many years hence. Supposing, one were to say 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you can collect social security. So that is also a gain. What kind of a gain? A gain that is separated from you in time. And certain gains are separated in space, right? That it is over there. That what I want is over there. What is that? Mocha, coffee. And where is that? Starbucks. Where is that? 5 miles from my house. So that is separated by space. Whereas social security 10 years hence is separated from time. Correct? These are the two agents of separation because we are living in what is called a time-space matrix, as though. But on the level of the transactional reality, this is what the whole thing, this is everything. All gains are in space and in time, and all the separation from those gains are spatial and temporal. But what about Tad Brahma? Tad is only that, it's not separated from me by time, because at that time what I was? Brahman. In the last life what I was? Brahman. What was I now? Brahman. What am I going to be 10 years from now? Brahman. So there is no separation in time. What about space? When I was in India, I was Brahman. After immigrating here, I don't know what I have become. It's not like that, correct? Now, when I go to Brahmaloka, I will be Brahman again. That's why it's called Brahmaloka, where everyone is Brahman. No! So Brahman is neither separated by place nor by time, because I was Brahman, I am Brahman, I will be Brahman. Oh, even without studying the Upanishads, I am Brahman? Yippee! Yes! Oh, why didn't you tell me before we did these 10 verses? Because I wouldn't have studied. Because before study also I was Brahman, correct? Yeah, and after study also I am Brahman. So why should, who on earth is going to bother to study? If I am not separated from what I want, and what I want is to be what? Brahman. And what I am is Brahman. Finished, काम हो गया. Why should I have to study this? You know? Why should I study this? See, nobody is protesting. Why should you study this? Why should I study this? That question doesn't come because there is an as though separation. It's not in terms of space. It's not in terms of time. It is in terms of my own ignorance. So it's a gain of that which is already gained but not known, because of what? Because of my ignorance. It's like the person wearing the glasses, perching the glasses on top of the head. Are they the possessor of the glasses or not? Yes. But they go around the house asking their children, have you seen the glasses? Of course, the children are teenagers and they want something in return. So first they say no. Then they say, I'll find it and give it to you, but that's going to be a lot of my time and effort. So promise me that, you'll do something nice for me, or you'll give me some money. All right, because the parent is now frustrated. Right there they are. Where? Not on your nose, but on your head, a few inches above. Correct? So, were you the possessor of the glasses or not? Yes. But then what happened? The glasses were gone, as though, and then the glasses came back, as though. So the gain of the glasses is not a gain in time, is not a gain in place, it's a gain, of that which is already gained, but removed from me because of what? Ignorance. Ignorance of what? Glass ignorance. Yeah. And here, self-ignorance. I am removed from the self by self-ignorance. And that self is called Brahman. Brahman ignorance is nothing but self-ignorance. And recognizing this, the Upanishad uses the word Jnatva. Tadeva Nishkalam Brahma. Tadeva Nirvikalpam Brahma. Tadeva, what was the third one? Niranjanam Brahma. Tadeva Brahma Ahamiti Jnatva. Knowing this Brahman to be non-separate from this I, through all the methods that have been talked about, through calming the mind, through meditation, through calming the mind as a preparation for knowledge, and using meditation as an aid to allow the mind to settle down in this knowledge, as an aid, as a contemplative tool, then what? Tadeva Brahman iti jnatva Brahma sampadyate dhruvam. Definitely you will get the glasses. No. Brahman, definitely you will have that. There is an assurance by the Upanishad. The next one also talks about the nature of Brahman from another standpoint. Very beautiful. Yeah. Nirvikalpamanantancha hetu drishthantavarjitam aprameyamanadincha yajnatva muchyate buddhaha. So same thing, Nirvikalpam. Here Nirvikalpam had a slightly different meaning. Nirvikalpam here means without any categories or choices. And in this verse number 9, because from the standpoint of the verse I will explain, in verse number 9, Nirvikalpam means beyond argument. Yeah, because there is all these contentious schools of thought, etc. Beyond all these schools of thought. The schools of thought, I want to propagate a new school of thought on all these schools of thought. Really. And what will that say? How Brahman is not a school of thought. How Vedanta is not a school of thought. Neither is it a college of thought. In fact, it's not a product of thought. It's the content, it's a revelation of the content of the thinker. This has to be understood. So Nirvikalpam here means beyond contentious, arguments, beyond all contentions. Anantam means Ananda Swarupa here, limitless, and that which is limitless is a source of joy. No, but my sorrow is limitless. It's not a source of joy. When I think of how sad I am endlessly sad. Shokaha anantaha, But are you happy being sad? No. Okay. Then argument closed. But why? Because that, I told you just now, what is the definition of limitless? That which is limitless is a source of joy. If you're limitlessly sad and it's not a source of happiness, that means what? You're trying to limitlessly get rid of the sorrow. Nobody says, I am sad and I'm going to accept my sorrow. Nobody says that. Nobody says that. And even if a person commits suicide because they feel like they cannot, they are despair, that suicide is a passive way of ending that sorrow. A wrong way, but this is how it is. An uninformed way. But nobody wants to put up with sorrow. Especially if they think it is not going to lift, because they want the sorrow gone. So, Nirvikalpam, beyond all contentious arguments, Anantam, free of all limitations, especially sorrow, etc. Now, and then what? How do I understand it? Hetu varjitam, drishtanta varjitam. Let's take drishtanta varjitam, free of all examples, because this is how to talk about it to others. How to explain Anantam to others. This is, see, the first two, the first mantra that we said, the number 9. Number 9? Yeah, number 9. Number 9 was talking about understanding Brahman from one's own standpoint for one's own redemption from sorrow and bondage, notions of sorrow and bondage. Not number 9, it was 8. Yes, thank you. So, number 9 is now talking about from the standpoint of how people talk about it in polite company. And how do people talk about Brahman? Nirvikalpam. How do people talk about Brahman? Oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. No, it's neither this nor that. Oh, maybe it is Sankhya. Maybe it is, all these contentious arguments. No, it is free of all contentious arguments. Oh, maybe it's one more object. No, it is Ananta. It is free of all limitations. It's the source of, all joy. It is, it is unending, Ananta. And then what? Drishtanta varjitam. How do you see it? You don't. You cannot have any drishtanta as examples. What example can you give? Brahman is like Brahman. Hanumanji was asked, Hanumanji had long life, and in fact he lived for 2 yugas, and by the time this Mahabharata war came, Hanumanji was an old Vanara. Very old, walked with a stick. And then because he was a great warrior, and so he was invited by the Pandavas to join the war. He said, no, I'm too old to fight. No, but please come and at least look and enjoy. He said, all right, I'll perch on the flag. And whenever you are about to lose, I'll make a screeching sound, a horrible screeching sound, so that I'll distract the enemy so that you can buy some time and get your bearings. That's about all I can do. So he perched on the flag. Arjuna's flag had the emblem of Hanumanji. He perched on top of the Ratha, on the flag mast. And then what? Most of the time, slept. He only was awake 2 times. Because the rest of the battle, he found, nah, what is this? And then after the battle, he was asked, so, how was this battle? And he said, Rama Ravanayoho yuddha, Rama Ravanayoho yuddhamiva. He said the battle between Rama and Ravana was exactly like ... the battle between Ravana and Rama. It's incomparable. So Brahman is like, drum roll, Brahman. That's all. Brahman is not like anything else. No, but we have some allegories, we have some metaphors, we have some examples. Like what? Space. Brahman is like space. Yeah, but that's limited. Brahman is like the sun. Limited. How is it limited? Very easily it can be unraveled. Brahman is like the sun that lights up everything. What lights up the sun? No, nothing lights up the sun. Sun is self-shining. Who says that the sun is self-shining? Well, the one who says the sun is self-shining and uses the sun as an example to illustrate Brahman, so to speak, is the self-shining me. You have to first ratify the existence of the sun in order for that to be brought in as an example. So really speaking, there are no examples to exemplify Brahman. Drishtanta varjitam. Hetu varjitam cha. Hetu here has 2 meanings. What is the first meaning? First meaning is cause. Hetu means cause. Hetu less. Causeless. Because we cannot ask the question, who caused Brahman? What caused Brahman? What caused consciousness? Consciousness is causeless. But how can something be causeless? Because it is limitless. Ananta, it's all self-referential. But how can it be limitless? Because it is causeless. But how can it be causeless? Do you really want me to go on like this? It is causeless. It is limitless. Because it is limitless, it is without a cause. Limitless means it had no beginning, it had no antecedents, no precedents. Nothing came after it, nothing came before it, it just is. But what about the Jagat? As though the Jagat is a dependent reality which is a manifestation of Brahman. And so you cannot say that the Brahman has some antecedents, it has given birth to the Jagat. No. So Drishtanta Varjita and Hetu Varjita. Hetu Varjita, first meaning. Second meaning, Hetu is a very important term in logic. Very important term. Nayayikas would be, would be in a wheelchair without this word Hetu. They don't know how to walk. They walk because of this word Hetu. Yeah, really. Nayayikas means the logicians. So like for example, I'll give you an example and show you the importance of Hetu. There is smoke on the mountain. Parvato Vanhiman. The mountain is fiery. Exactly the correct translation. How do you know that the mountain is fiery? How do you know Vanhiman? Because Dhumavatvat. Because of the presence of smoke. So because of Dhuma, the presence of Dhuma, smoke makes me see that I don't see the fire. I conclude Parvato Vanhiman. I conclude that the mountain is on fire. Not after seeing the fire, because the mountain is too high, I don't see the fire. What do I see? Smoke. The smoke makes me conclude that the mountain is on fire. Why? Because I have seen the same smoke when I burnt my toast in my pakashala. What is pakashala? Kitchen. In my kitchen, what did I do? I burnt my dinner. Correct? In fact, I do that on a regular basis. So I burnt my dinner, and when I burnt my dinner, I had an epiphany. What is the epiphany? Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. And I know this in my own lab, the kitchen, where I have plenty of times experimented. And in fact, the neighbors have come with, fire extinguishers, because the smoke alarm in the house keeps on going off regularly. So in the Pakashala, I know I have an epiphany. What is the epiphany? That there is a paksha. Paksha means a postulate. The postulate is what? Fire. And whether the fire is in the kitchen or whether the fire is on the mountain, doesn't matter. Fire. And when do you yell fire? You don't wait to see the fire to yell fire. When you say fire, when do you say fire? When you see smoke. And what is the connection between smoke and fire? Smoke is the hetu of fire. Smoke is the hetu, not here really meaning the cause. Smoke is that, the presence of smoke is the inevitable presence of fire. That connection is here called hetu. So here hetu varjitam, you cannot find Brahman through logic. I exist, therefore Brahman must exist. Or there is something there, therefore Brahman must exist. This is not a logical inference. Brahman is not logically inferred. Therefore Shastra is needed. And Shastra cannot be read. It has to be assimilated through the teachings of a teacher. Therefore the teacher has to come in. Shastra has to come in. All these things one didn't want have to come in. In order to get what one really wants, Brahman. Yeah, so this is, the Upanishad, I love this Upanishad because it gives a little pat, not a congratulatory pat, but a little, each time the Nayayika in the self, starts in oneself, starts to bob up, the logician, the inferer, the one who gets everything cognitively, I'm the one who's seeing Brahman, I'm going to pin it down, I'm going to name it, species Brahmanas, I am going to name it, I am going to give it some Latin name, I'm in fact going to name it by myself, name it, after myself. Most of these things, it's named after the researcher. The botanist's name is there. All the lizards, worms, everything fossilized, it's named after the geologist that discovered the thing. So here Brahmanas, yeah. Ignoramus Brahmanas. This because this ignoramus discovered Brahman. So I'm going to pin it down. That's the feeling. I want to get it as an object. It is not an object, it's you. Yeah, I understand. But what can I show for it? That where you said you stop that. Yeah, I'll stop that tomorrow. But right now, I want to get this Brahman. What is this? Hetu varjitam. It's outside of your pause of trying to get at it. Yeah, you may as well just put all the karmendriyas to rest. Keep the hands still. Keep the hands still, keep the tongue still. Don't start talking about it as an object. Keep everything still. How long? Still. Yeah. keep on keeping it still, until you understand that this is you. This is not something for charcha. Brahman is not, our Prime Minister in India has started one radio show, and sometimes he calls it chai pe charcha, meaning discussion over tea, chit chat over tea. When President Obama went to India, he learned this phrase and he used it in his talk. And so, this is not chai pe charcha. This is not some tea time chit chat. Nayayika, Vaisheshika, and one poor Vedantin stuck in the middle, sitting and discussing Brahman. Vedantin will want to put noise cancelling headphones. In fact, if you go to any Vedanta ashrams, they forbid you from studying Nyaya and Nayayika, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, all these schools of thought texts. They say for 12 years you are outlawed from studying it. And of course, forbidden fruit is very sweet, and so sometimes the brahmacharis have been apprehended in the ashram libraries looking through Nayayika things. And then, and they think that, oh, I have gone in the night, nobody knows, I have studied under flashlight. But the teacher immediately knows, pakad gaya, catches immediately because of the way the person exposed to Nayayika arguments. It's like being exposed to radiation, all the brain cells die. It's the way the person starts talking in the class, you can immediately tell what books they have been reading. And the teacher will simply say, from now on you need not volunteer in the library. Go to the kitchen, do kitchen seva. The keys of the library are snatched from this brahmachari. This is what it is. It's a serious thing. You can't have any kind of opposing things. No, but that sounds like a cult. Because you should have to only be exposed to this and not to that. This is not a cult. You are not a cult. In fact, there is nothing to follow. It's you. In fact, you don't have to study Nyaya. The Nayayika's arguments are already jumping up and down, wanting airtime. And they have to be systematically quietened. Hetu varjitam. There is Atma, therefore Brahman has to be there. Let me logically infer Ishvara. And the Nayayika, the logician, makes a caricature. They make a caricature of themselves because they try to logically infer the presence of Bhagavan. And that presence need not be inferred because it is self-evident. This they don't understand, that inference is a means of knowledge. For what? For things that cannot be known otherwise. I gave this long talk about means of knowledge just so that we won't have to see this day, so that we'll remember what we are talking about now. That that Vedanta is a means of knowledge. Inference is also a means of knowledge, but inference operates in its own realm where Vedanta does not cover. And Vedanta operates in its own kingdom where inference cannot set foot. There is no connection between the two. I wake up, roads are wet, therefore it must have rained. Did I see the rain? No. So I wake up, roads are wet, let me consult Mandukya Upanishad, what this means. Mandukya Upanishad will not tell you anything about why the roads are wet because it's not an appropriate means of knowledge. Here it's just your own inference. Your own postulate, your own ability to infer. Sometimes it's a one-step inference, like roads are wet, therefore it must have rained. Sometimes it's a two-step inference. Devadatta, everybody knows this. Devadatta does not eat during the day. Postulate number 1. And then postulate does not lose weight. At the end of 1 month, the fellow is put on the scale and he has not lost even 1 ounce. And the weighing machine may be faulty, therefore. Get a new one, calibrate it, weigh an elephant and then weigh Devadatta. Still the same result. Therefore what? These two postulates, what do I infer? Yeah, he is eating when nobody is looking, namely at night. So this is more than one step in inference. Also called Anumana, also called Arthapatti. Anumana, generally, when we make a distinction, one step inference. Arthapatti, more than one step inference. So how are you going to infer Brahman? Brahman, exists because my head is itching. That's why Brahman. There is no connection. You cannot, but Brahman is not a derivation. Because the derivation is the result of a mental operation. And if Brahman becomes a result of a mental operation, 2 minus 2, 0, Brahman is therefore Shunya, then that means the Anantya Hanihi. That's why the Ananta is given. The Hetu Varjitam and Anantam go together. Because if it is Hetu, if it is subject to Hetu, this kind of argument, contention and this logical inference, then it cannot be Ananta. It's a product of my mind. Brahman is not a product to be derived. It is not to be induced or to be deduced. It's not a product for deduction or induction. It simply is, and it is you. More we shall see after a short break, 5-10 minutes. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamedavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Let's see, all of you are here, very nice. Wonderful. If you have any questions, you can ask now. 5-10 minutes, I will take a few questions. Yes, that's right, Prashanti. Brahman is already revealed. It's a self-existent reality called you. Just like you don't have to infer that you exist. That you is Brahman. You don't have to consult a book to know that you exist. So Brahman is already revealed. It's the revelation of that which is revealed. What is revealed is not Brahman, but its nature. Its nature as free of all sorrow is revealed. That is what is revealed. Brahman is already there. Mother has come. Very good. Yeah, please give namaskar to you and mother, everyone. Very nice. Caught up with the classes yesterday. Very wonderful. So when ignorance is removed, yes, you know its nature, you own up the nature. That ignorance has to be removed yesterday. That's why I cannot stand ignorance, and the rankest form of ignorance is self-ignorance. Yes.
So, treating other concepts.
Other concepts.
If there is in a very extreme seriousness way, it might become a distraction for
It's a distraction.
the
Yeah, it's a distraction.
But it's always good to touch it.
You know, sometimes you think, I'm just going to dabble in Nyaya, and then it dabbles in you. We think like
if
that.
the perceptions is not.
Yeah, if it's not, that's why for the first 12 years, the Guru says, in Kailas Ashram, if you go, in Haridwar, Rishikesh, there is this Kailas Ashram, a very ancient place of where Vedanta is taught.
Yeah.
If you go there, they will not let you touch the books.
Kumbhakonam too.
Yeah, Kumbhakonam also. And the Kovilur tradition also. They will not let you touch the books. Any other thing. Because this is the knowledge is like that. It's not about cult. It's not about that. It's because there's already those that Nayayika is just a mental born child of your own thoughts, enshrined in a school of philosophy called Nayayika.
Yes, complex.
Yeah, it's your own thought. And we are not, besides, we are not opposed to, and I'm going to say this in the class also, we are not opposed to Nyaya. We are not opposed to logic. We are using logic all the time. But we are using logic to help us to see what the Shruti has to say. Not logic that is against the Shruti. Shruti is enshrined, and if it's not understood, if the teaching is not understood, we deploy logic. But the Nayayika lets logic deploy him. That is what we don't want.
Yeah, they need us more.
Exactly. Always wondered what meditating on the formless meant. Our explanation of the mantra falling away made it, your explanation of the mantra falling away made it easier to understand. Yeah, the mantra just drops. So the formless you don't meditate on, you contemplate as the truth of yourself. End of the class I asked about witness and called it witness state. You corrected me, not a state, it is me. I have been thinking of witness state as a place to put my mind to remove the self from guilt, shame, judgments. It's a process. Yeah, you can say it's a witness and I am the witness. You can say right now, I am going into the witness place. Better say place than state. Yeah, and then that place is you later on, step by step. You're doing the right thing. That is how to go about it. You're doing exactly what needs to be done. I am the most Brahman. Yes, you are very close to Brahman when you are in the witness place. Because the truth of that witness is you. Because that witness comes when there is something to witness, like guilt, shame, etc. that you are talking about. So the guilt, shame is the object, you are the subject, and you are witnessing it. And then later on, guilt, shame drops off, the witnessing also drops off. You are just Brahman. Yeah, but right now that is how you can be. You can say, whatever I observe is not me. I am the observer, this is observed. Thank you.
People are interested. When she asks them if they want to send a picture, then it'll get put in a book, and those who send pictures will send something out to a little
booklet. You have already advertised, right? Yeah, you send an email to everybody. Yeah, or everybody who's, that's a better way because not everyone is here. So you send an email. Yeah, about the valedictory, everything. And whoever has signed for certificates. Yeah, then it will go to everyone. Send a mass mail.
And I thought that would be cool yesterday.
Yeah.
So I remember. I didn't notice it because there was no message. But then I was looking through and it looked like his number. So I called him back.
Sure.
I can't remember for sure. My daughter's getting married on Monday, Tuesday before. I don't remember what time.
This is just going around saying email with my
Yeah, okay.
schedule. Is it pending up? Let's make this Friday so that available to them.
Yeah.
There's two I think.
Available to do those. So Thomas, seeing when you put your, when I come in on Tuesdays,
The date last week is wrong on this verse.
I missed that. Where is it? Which was?
Verse number 8.
Tadeva nishkalam brahma nirvikalpam niranjanam tad brahma aham iti jnatva. Yeah. What's wrong?
Tad, no Brahma.
Oh, just
Tad
a
Brahma.
Yeah,
Tad
yeah.
Brahma, and then no second part.
Tad brahma. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, correct.
Because so that's when we were chanting, I was like, Tad
Yeah.
Brahma.
Tad brahmamiti.
Yeah.
Tada brahma. Yeah. There is some mistake. There is a mistake.
Verse God.
Yeah, there is a mistake. Correct.
At night. Oh. So I thought.
Which could lead to a mistake.
But you are in undress.
Yeah. You feel much better?
The stomach, the body is, the stomach just nothing.
Which is almost fascinating.
Nothing more wants to be inside.
Oh, it will go.
Into it. And with a certain balance.
You can tone down on the pill if you're still taking it.
Creating art.
How many are you taking?
just one.
Yeah.
That it's a do two. And
Yeah, just one, 2 times or 3 times, just to maintain. Keep that.
So what is the incorrectness on tatatta?
Huh?
What is the incorrectness in the...
Oh, there should be a, halantyam. I don't think it's in the transliteration it's okay, right? Yeah. Brahmaham. Yeah, transliteration is okay. In the Sanskrit there is a mistake.
In the Sanskrit there.
Yeah,
What is
Sanskrit, what is incorrect is that there should be a line after the tad that is not there in verse number 8.